Sports Network. Tonight's game is brought to you by Greer Time Media, Posey Napa Auto Part, Greer and Greer Mobile Detail, Mookie's Mesquite Patch Barbecue, Woodman Life Insurance, and Joe Fridays. Mexia Sports Network. Tonight's game is brought to you by Greer Time Media, Posey Napa Auto Part, Greer and Greer Mobile Detail, Mookie's Mesquite Patch Barbecue, Woodman Life Insurance, and Joe Fridays.
All right, we want to thank y'all here to the show this week. We're here at Napa Auto Parts. As each week we're going from our different sponsors. And this week we have some extra people with us. We have Tony here in the middle, and we have Dino down here on the end. Going to be predicting with us this week. We got a couple of pages here. We just want to thank y'all for being on with us and allowing Napa to be here with us. So we before we get started, we have Freddie on the camera, and Dino and I here on the headsets, and we got a certain way we're going to start this off with. We just want to thank Napa for this evening. Brought to you by Napa Auto Parts, and we're going to start this evening off with a few games here. Dino, you're on the other mic. We're going to have about 20 games we're going to call here. What'd you think about this game this past week with Mexia and Conley?
To me, it was a good game. We just got beat in the trenches as far as Mexia did. And Conley was more physical than we was at the point of attack. But overall, they did good.
I was really proud of the boys, how they held against the number one team in state. And I seen this week where they had dropped Conley down to 2. But last week's over with, and we've got to move on to this week. And we have Robinson this week in Robinson for the Black Cats. And we need to go over there and get a really big win.
Yes, we do. This, like you said, that's history now. So we got to come back stronger than what we was.
Well, I want to thank you for coming up here with us and doing some predictions. Tony, I want to thank you for joining us. We'll go ahead and get started here because we got about 30 minutes to get through all this, and then we can talk to here at the end. Our first game that we're going to have this week is going to be China Spring versus La Vega. And I've been following football for a long time. And La Vega's getting their players back this week that had been suspended from their little fight last week. And I just don't see China Spring putting up much of a fight here. I've got La Vega winning 56-7 in this ball game.
I got La Vega 42-17.
How about you, Tony?
I got China Spring 14-7.
China Spring 14-7. We're going with an upset right off the bat. The next game we have here is going to be pretty big game for some teams local here. Tig's going to be hosting Whitney, and this is going to go a long ways to the playoffs to see which seat they're going to go in. And both teams have really come on in the last couple of weeks, and Whitney blew out, I believe it was West last week in Whitney. And so now Whitney gets to travel to Tig, and I've got Tig pulling this off at home 35-27.
Ooh. Got another upset.
Hey.
I got Whitney 28-7 over Tig.
Hey, you can move to Whitney. Tig just called me and said, Dino, move to Whitney.
Yeah.
How about you, Tony?
I got Whitney too, man. 21-6.
Well, you got to have an oddball. That's why I went with Tig. So we got two taking Whitney, and I'm going to take Tig. Next, we got some teams from East Texas. Both of them won last week as well. Brownsboro versus Rusk. You know, Rusk always has a tough team. I mean, from back when I played ball, Rusk was always tough. And in this one, I got Rusk pulling this one out 35-24.
Ooh, and I got Brownsboro 24-10 over Rusk.
I got Rusk 28-10.
Well, Tony's going to go with Rusk on that one. The next one up we have is Belleville versus Caldwell. I'll be going to Caldwell on Friday morning, but Caldwell's been pretty tough this year. I want to say they have 2 losses, but they're rolling in district, and I'm going to go with Caldwell pulling this one off 28-21.
I got Caldwell 14-7.
Tony's got Caldwell too.
I got Belleville 21-17.
Always an oddball in every group. Next game we got two more, and then we'll go to a commercial break. We have Maypearl visiting West. I've got West pulling this one out 56-7, not even being a close game.
I got Maypearl pulling 28-21.
Maypearl upsetting West at home.
I got Maypearl over West 24-21.
Going to be a close one there by y'all's. And the last one we'll get to before we go to a commercial break will be McGregor is traveling to Grandview, and I'm sorry if we don't all have the same ones on here. Y'all are fired. Grandview's going to blow them out 56-7. That won't even be a ball game.
No, I got McGregor 35-14.
35-14.
Ooh, you got a major upset over the number one team.
Number one team's going down in Tony's books.
I got 50-7 Grandview.
50-7 Grandview. Yeah, the Zebras have been really tough the last few years, and they've got a really good program built, and they're winning each week by big margins. It's not even close.
At all.
Well, that'll wrap up the first section. We'll go to a commercial break here with our sponsors, and we'll be right back.
You're listening to Black Cat Football and Greer Time Media. Let's take it to the booth with your host, Freddie Greer Sr.
I want to thank y'all out there for coming back to us. We're here at Napa Auto Parts. I want to thank them for letting us host our prediction show this week. This week it's Jeremy Sunday with Tony and Dino. We had predicted about 7 or 8 to start with, but we're going to finish out the high school here before we have another commercial break. This is 2 teams from East Texas, and we used to play Crockett quite a bit, Dino, and they've dropped down. They're a little smaller than us now. But Elkhart's going to travel to Crockett, and I've got Crockett winning this one 38-24.
Ooh, I have Crockett over Elkhart 34-10.
And how about you, Tony?
I got Elkhart 48-21 over Crockett.
Elkhart upsetting the Bulldogs this week. Next, we're going to move over, and these teams come from right around here. The next 6 are all local, 7 are all local. We're going to have Frost versus Dawson in Dawson. And over there, pretty much what I've seen this year has been all Wortham and Mart. Of course, Mart's all by themselves. But Dawson's played pretty tough. They hadn't won, but I think this is going to be the week that they get off the losing streak, and Dawson's going to beat Frost and beat up on the Polar Bears at home, 35-14.
Yes, I have Dawson 28-6.
I got Dawson as well, 21-7.
So, hey, we finally all got on the same page. And this next one, I hope we're on the same page, too, as well. As my son played there for a couple of years as a freshman and sophomore, won 2 state titles. And Mart, all they know is to win. I mean, when they get to district play, they play a lot of tough teams in preseason. And when they get to district, very rarely are they even scored on. Last week they won 68-0, and I got them in another one this week, 68-0 over Hubbard.
Yes, I have a blowout too with Mark, 63-7 over Hubbard.
I got Hubbard 35-21.
Oh my
Ooh,
gosh!
upset
Upset Central over
the number
here
3
at Napa.
team. Number 3.
Mark's going down from Tony's books. Well, our next game is in that same district, and it's going to be Meridian traveling to Wortham. And like I said, the only team that Wortham, I don't believe, is going to lose. The only team that Wortham will lose to in that district is going to be Mart, who they got trounced last week by. So I got Wortham getting back on the winning side, 36-14 in Wortham.
Yes, that's right. I picked Wortham too, 20-17 over Meridian.
I got Wortham as well, 42-21.
Well, we're all on the same page there as well. Next up is a 6-man, and Dino, have you watched any 6-man before?
Coolidge.
Andrew in junior high went to Mount Calm and played 6-man, and we had a team that we played the number 1 team in state, and that was they beat us in the second round, and we were the closest ones to beating them that year. But that is some fun football. If you love offense, 6-man is the way to go. Last year I went up and watched all the 6-man games at state championship, and I'm going to be back up there again this year. Milford's up there. And what's kind of surprised me is Coolidge has beat some top 10 teams in the last 3 weeks.
Yes, they have. They beat who was that? Oakwood, and they beat Calvert.
And they still hadn't cracked in the top 10. But Milford is playing Penelope, and it's not even going to be a ball game. I've got Milford winning this one 72-14.
You're right. I got it called at half, 60-0 over Penelope.
I got Milford as well,
35-0. That's all of us picking Milford. Milford's tough. They've got a kid that's a junior this year that played with my son, and he's about 6'3", 6'4", and weighs about 225, 230, and he's just a hoss. It's tough for any six-man defense to bring him down. Our next up on the schedule is going to be Avalon is traveling to Coolidge. And as we had just talked about Coolidge winning, Avalon's not been too tough the last couple of years. They were pretty tough about 4 years ago. But I got Coolidge winning this one big 64-26 over in Yellow Jacket land.
Yes, I have Coolidge 52-24.
I got Coolidge 28-7.
28-7. We're all on the same rotation there as well. Well, the next 3 games are their last 3 high school games we'll do tonight, and they're all in our district. And the first one's going to be Fairfield's going to be traveling to the Cadets. And like I said earlier, I seen where the Cadets had dropped to number 2, and I'm not for sure who took them at number 1, but it's pretty tough for me to see Conley come over here and beat Mexia the way they did after Mexia turned around and beat the number 9 team in the nation the week before. So this district's just tough up and down. And I've got Conley winning this one 35-21 in Conley.
Conley as well.
Tony's picking Conley as well.
Yes, I have Conley beating Fairfield 21-17.
I will tell you, Conley is probably one of the dirtiest teams I've seen play in a long, long time. They
Yes.
didn't mind hitting you late. They didn't mind punching you on the ground
At all.
They didn't mind hit. I mean, they came to Mexia to intimidate Mexia, and after about the first quarter, I believe Conley won that one. So I don't think it'll be as easy to intimidate Fairfield because Fairfield's got some big old boys.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we all picked Conley to win that one. The next one is Madisonville's traveling to Salado, and this is pretty big for the Black Cats because the Black Cats really need Salado to lose this ball game to help them in a playoff push. And I've got Salado actually winning this one in Salado 35-21 over Madisonville.
Yes, I also have Salado over Madisonville 28-3.
I got to be the oddball. Madisonville over Salado 28-14.
You don't know how much I'd love to see that. But and our last high school game for this week is our hometown Black Cats are traveling to Robinson. And Robinson's had a rough year this year, but I believe they won last week. And Mexia is traveling over to Robinson. And years ago, Robinson always had big boys. But I hear this year they've got a couple of small kids that are just lightning fast. And but I just do not believe that Robinson's going to be able to move the ball on Mejia's defense. There's not too many teams that's been able to. Conley was one of them, but nobody else has really moved the ball on Mexia. And I've got Mexia pulling this one out 42-14.
Yes, I have Mexia bouncing back Friday night, too, over Robinson, 31-7.
I got my head as well, 35-28.
All right. Well, as that wraps up the last of the high school picks this week, we're going to go to our sponsor breaks, and we'll be back in just a minute.
You're listening to Mexia Sports Network. Tonight's game is brought to you by Greer Time Media, Posey Napa Auto Part, Greer and Greer Mobile Detail, Mookie's Mesquite Patch Barbecue, Woodman Life Insurance, and Joe Fridays.
welcome everybody back to the last part of the prediction show today here with Jeremy Sunday, Tony, and Dino. I want to thank y'all for joining us, but I want to thank Napa for allowing us to come up here as one of our sponsors to do our prediction show this week. The last 5 games we have here, 6 games we have here, are all college games this week. We normally will have the Cowboys, but they're on bye this week. As injured as they have been, it was a good time for them to have a week off. But our first Big 12 game we're going to start with here is Oklahoma State traveling to Iowa State. Well, Baylor put it on Oklahoma State last week pretty good, and Iowa State won their game. But when you go to Iowa State and play, some strange things always happen up there. So I'm going to pick Iowa State in this one, 35-28.
I got Oklahoma State 56-35.
56-35, beating the Cyclones.
Ooh, I got Oklahoma State 42-24.
Right. I love my Oklahoma teams. I hope you're all right, but I just don't see the Iowa State giving it up at home. The next game we got is Texas Tech versus Kansas. Now, Kansas played a really good game this past week against Texas, and they say there's no moral victories, but I promise you in Kansas that was a moral victory taking Texas all the way to the end. I see Kansas pulling an upset this week with Texas Tech on this one. I'm going to go 35-34, win it in the last of the fourth quarter.
I'm going to go with Texas Tech 42-35.
I got Kansas 31-28.
Next one up is going to be a battle of Texas. The Longhorns are traveling up to Fort Worth as they're going to go play the TCU Horned Frogs. TCU's not having a really good year this year. They've been kind of down. So I'm going to take Texas in this one, 35-20, to pull this one out in Fort Worth.
I go Texas as well, 28-21.
I got Texas 28-17.
Our next game, and it's the last one in the Big 12, is going to be Oklahoma's traveling to Manhattan, Kansas, to play the Kansas State Wildcats. And the one thing Oklahoma's had this year is they finally found their defense. And I just don't see after we've played Texas, I don't see anybody else scoring much on Oklahoma. I got Oklahoma pulling this one out 56-14 in Manhattan.
Oh, well, I got 56-14 as well.
56-14 as well, Tony says.
I got Oklahoma 62-17.
Hey, I like them scores. I was born in Oklahoma, raised a Sooner fan, and love my team. Well, Wisconsin's going to travel to Ohio State, and this is a huge game in the Big Ten. And Wisconsin, I think, got caught looking ahead. Wisconsin got caught looking ahead last week and had one slip up on them. So it's going to be really important for them to go into the horseshoe and pull off an upset here. So we had Vance. Vance, you coming in on the very end. Thank you for joining us.
I thought you was another place.
You went to Joe Friday's, didn't you?
Yep.
I thought so, too, last week when we talked. And Freddie, he's from Groesbeck. He changes things on us every now and then. But, Vance, we just got into some SEC stuff. And Wisconsin's traveling to Ohio State this week in a big tilt down there in Big Ten country. And I'm going to pull the upset here. I think Wisconsin's played in a tough game, and Ohio State hasn't. And they've got some young players that hasn't been there. So I'm going to pull Wisconsin pulling this one off 28-24 at the Horseshoe.
It's going to be a close one. But I got Ohio State 24-21.
I got Ohio State as well, 28-7.
I'm gonna take Wisconsin, 28-21.
Vance takes Wisconsin. I'm with you on that one. I think I want to see it more than anything. Ohio State go down. I'm not an Ohio State Buckeye fan. And the next game is going to be one out of the SEC. Big game this week. Auburn's traveling down to LSU, and LSU has put some points on the board. But what I've watched has been really funny is the last 2 to 3 years, everybody talks about the Big 12 doesn't have any defense, and they're scoring. Their games are 42-35, 35-34. Well, the SEC's falling in line this year with that, and LSU scoring, but they're not stopping anybody. So this one right here, Auburn's quarterback's not as good as LSU's quarterback, and I'm going to take LSU winning this ball game 42-28.
I have LSU 35-21.
I got Auburn 21-17.
Upset brewing in SEC land.
I'm gonna go with LSU. I'm gonna go 14.
28-14, LSU's quarterback's leading in the Heisman vote, and I read earlier right before I came up, see what he can do against the SEC defense. And our last game is the big game. Is going to the big house. It's going to be Notre Dame is traveling to Michigan, and this is a big game for Jim Harbaugh. They, if he don't win this, and they may run him out of Michigan. And so I've got him pulling this one off. I watched them last week, and I thought they were going to come back and win. Last week against Penn State, I think they got some stuff figured out last week, and I'm going to pull Michigan winning this one 28-21 over Notre Dame.
Ooh, I have Michigan over Notre Dame, too. I have them 28-17.
Got Michigan as well, 42-35.
I'm going to take Notre Dame.
He going to go with Notre Dame.
31 to 21.
Vance has got Notre Dame pulling the upset on Michigan, and that's 31-21. Well, guys, I want to thank y'all for coming. Vance, I'm sorry that we're going to go to a commercial, and we'll come back and close it out with you. Well, we're going to close it out here. This is Greer Media Time bringing you a prediction show this week before the Mexia Robinson game in Waco, Texas. I want to thank Napa for allowing us to come up here and do the prediction show. Vance, I'm sorry that you were not informed that we had changed. But I'll tell y'all this. From here on out, I'll get with y'all before Thursday. I think this week I'm going to go to the farmhouse and talk to James about becoming a sponsor for the rest of the year. Being a sponsor, you get your name called out on Wednesdays, Friday night football games, and then we're going to do basketball and baseball this year as well. So you'll get a whole year's worth of your business being called out, or your family, if you become a sponsor. So, Vance, we'll make sure we have you here to start out the next one for sure. Tony, I want to thank you for coming on as a guest. And, Dino, thanks for showing up this week.
Oh, yeah, no problem.
At Napa Auto Parts is Greer Time Media, Black Cat Prediction Show 2019. We'll be back next Wednesday, but we'll see y'all Friday night at Robinson Rocket Field to watch the Black Cats go play the Robinson Rockets. Thank you, Napa, for allowing us this evening.
Greer Mobile Detail, Mookie's Mesquite Patch Barbecue, Woodman Life Insurance, and Joe Fridays.